Sorry about the late start to the Randy Karraker Show, presented by DraftKings, where the crown is yours.
It'll happen.
Matthew Rocchio, Randy Karraker. And the reason that we're running a little late is because I have a little piece that I do with Bernard J. Mikolas, every week. And if you're an insider at STL Sports Central, you can watch that entire missive that we provide. Oh, by the way, and there's how you can become an STL Sports Central insider. Just go to stlsportscentral.com. Pretty cool. Yeah, and Bernie and I are going to do some sort of a chat thing next week, next Tuesday. Another good reason to become an insider, but you get all kinds of great info from Brandon Schaefer and Kareem Rush, monthly giveaways, access to Bernie's columns, and more when you become an insider at stlsportscentral.com. It is great to have you with us. So anyway, if you're live, sorry we're late. If you're not live and you're just watching a recording of this particular program, doesn't matter. We love you.
It'll be a little shorter. That's about it.
Yeah,
but don't worry. That also means that later on, if you are watching this, neither now live or later, at some point in the next 24 hours, you'll be able to go to the video tab on the STL Sports Central YouTube and see Randy talk it over with John Denton. So we're gonna get into a little bit of Cardinals as well. So that's the reason we're starting a little late, is because you're getting some Bernie content. We're gonna end a little bit early or a little shorter than usual, so you can get a little John Denton content. And it's all right there on STL Sports Central, where we're just killing this Cardinals coverage, in my opinion.
I agree. And one of the interesting things about the winter meetings was that Pete Alonso was never even offered a contract by the Mets, and they watched Pete Alonso walk away for $155 million. Apparently, the reason that they really didn't care about Pete Alonso is because the Mets and the Dodgers are involved in an epic battle over who's going to be able to trade for Tarek Skubal, the American League Cy Young Award winner, two-time defending American League Cy Young Award winner. That being said, the Mets still need somebody to hit the ball, and we've talked about Matt Beatty being at third base and Mark Vientos being at first, and the Mets being reasonably comfortable with those, but they aren't really confident with those guys, and that is why we're hearing Contreras to the Mets with interest on all sides. Apparently the Cardinals, the Mets, and Contreras all have interest, which is intriguing. And I don't know, Matthew, I think that it wouldn't matter what the Mets would give back for Willson Contreras if they would take the 2 years and $37 million that he.
I mean, it's a little bit different than the Arenado or Sonny Gray situation. I think you can still expect some kind of return for that kind of player, even with that kind of money. I think.
I don't think the Mets have a great system. So if you're going in, you're not going to get a top 50 prospect for Willson Contreras, top 50 guy in baseball for Contreras. I don't think. That would surprise me. But I think the Cardinals' primary focus here would be, and it's not just money, but it's providing opportunity for everybody. My guess would be, and by the way, you wonder if Nootbaar could be part of a package. I would think if they could move Contreras, they might keep Lars Nootbaar, play Alec Burleson at first, and play Nootbaar in left.
Well, one of the main reasons I'm talking about is, to your point, if you don't think that Contreras can really get you much, just salary relief, they do have a Brandon Nimmo-sized hole in left field in New York, and so this maybe shifts the deal from just one for salary relief to the Cardinals, where we're helping you guys fit pieces into the puzzle, and they're kind of cheap relative to what you could have been paying people, and apparently you want to cut a little bit of salary because you weren't even giving Pete Alonso the contract offer. So maybe this is where you're able to pull something. To your point, the top 4 prospects in the Mets system are in MLB's top 50, actually. None of the other players are in the top 100. So if we draw a line there, we get to a right-handed pitcher who is 25 years old named Brandon Sprout, who should be hitting Major League Baseball this year. He's not a top 100 player for them. You got a double-A third baseman or corner infielder, I should call him, a double-A Brendan Donovan, young Brendan Donovan, a second baseman / outfielder named A.J. Ewing. That sounds like another Brendan Donovan right there. And then you have Ryan Clifford, who's a triple-A first baseman and outfielder. So there are some players who conceivably could be interesting to the Cardinals. By the way, just to kind of iron that out, the corner infielder is a righty, but the outfielder and the first baseman are lefties.
I would just
Just throwing it out there.
If I were the Mets and it was going to take me a prospect, especially a pitching prospect, because they ended the year last year with 3 rookies in their rotation.
If you were a Mets fan, you would have walked into the Hudson years ago, Randy.
Oh, that's true. But there are still guys out there. O'Hearn is out there. Lau is out there. Reese Hoskins that you could roll the dice on. Nobody that is up to the level of Willson Contreras, but let's start with Beatty and Vientos because they want at bats for both of those guys. Mm-hmm. Now they need a DH also, and Willson Contreras could fill that role.
Usually does.
If I were the Mets and there were other opportunities for me to get a hitter where it wouldn't cost me one of my best prospects, then I might be more inclined if I had chips.
Whoa. I stayed away from your best prospects. I stayed away from your best prospects.
Well, because they're going to have to give up somebody to get Skubal.
Yeah, that's true. That's a fair point. If they can win that, if they win that bid, that's a fair point.
Yeah. So if I were them, I would use my chips elsewhere.
On the other side,
by the way, another guy they could sign is Marcell Ozuna. Wouldn't he be fun in New York?
Yeah. On the other side, though, if they do make the trade for Skubal, is there a point where you say you throw a little bit of caution to the wind and say we do have to give up our prospects because now we've just created a window, and to take advantage of that window, we need a bat at DH who can get us 80 RBI and a 130 OPS plus.
That would be so antithetical to the DNA of David Stearns, their Pobo. And last year at the trade deadline, when he didn't get an ace pitcher, he said, you don't need an ace pitcher to win a World Series. He's a guy that...
He might have been proven wrong about that, though.
I think he might have been. But the point is that that's the way he's thinking. He's thinking with a small market thought process, even though he's a big market, big money team. And yes, they're spending a ton of money on Soto, a ton of money on Francisco Lindor. They were giving Nimmo a ton of money, but now Marcus Semien, who they traded Nimmo for, is making a ton of money. And so they're already paying a lot of guys a lot of money. And if they get a guy like Skubal, probably going to cost them between $400 and $500 million over the next 10 years.
Is this just because now we've now referred to both New York ownerships as wanting to be more cautious with their money? Is this are they saber rattling a little bit? Are they just kind of BSing us, or is this just the last piece of lockout proof that you need?
That's a great point. I would think with the Yankees, I would be more inclined to get that vibe than with the Mets. With Steve Cohen. Steve Cohen doesn't care. They might be walking away from Alonso and letting Edwin Diaz get away, but I don't think that's a Steve Cohen thing. I think that's a David Stearns thing. I think Stearns believes that he can build a team and doesn't need to spend $400 million, $350 million.
But at this point, I mean, to make a move for a big bat and it only be $18 million per year, that's a pretty middle ground move. That doesn't that kind of fit?
You take on the whole contract.
Doesn't that kind of fit a Stearns move, bringing a guy in for $18 million and getting a guy like Lars Nootbaar, who's what after a projected arbitration of 3.5 or something?
Well, if you're the Cardinals, you got to have hitters too, right? You still have to have players on your team. You can't trade everybody for minor leaguers, right?
I don't necessarily agree with that.
Really? What do you think they're going to be?
Not a very good team.
You're thinking 60 wins,
Randy? No. I just saw them drop 5 spots out of the lottery, baby. It's all about that top pick next year. Let's go.
Yeah,
top 3 pick.
That's not.
Come on, Cardinals. Yeah, let's get a superstar.
That's not the way they're thinking. So if you are planning to get rid of Arenado, that's your number one priority.
Yes,
and you get rid of Contreras and Nootbaar.
We're looking a little thin.
Yeah. A little thin. So, but you don't have to. Why would you do that if you don't have to?
Mainly, it's just because, like I said, it's fitting puzzle pieces for the Mets, and therefore you can get a better prospect. It's more of just you have assets you want to trade. You have a team that potentially has perfect fits for them and might give you something good. Yeah. And honestly, the way I would put it is only if it brings you into the conversation for Jonah Tong, who is a top 50 player. Their number 4 prospect in their system, who's a right-handed pitcher who pitched in Major League Baseball last year. If you make the jump to one of their top 4 prospects, who's a top 50 prospect, then it makes sense to have the throw in there because you're not compromising the deal.
If you're the Mets, and granted, the Mets do a lot of weird things. But why would you trade when you had a chance down the stretch last year with those 3 starters? Why would you move that guy?
Because I'm adding 1,000 at bats at a average of a 117 OPS plus into my lineup.
And how do you win in baseball? What do you win with?
Usually pitching.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, well.
So I would think that the Cardinals, if they would move Contreras, it would be with the.
Tong only had 5 starts last year.
Yeah, but in September he was pitching big games for them.
He was.
If I were the Cardinals, and I was going to get rid of Arenado, and I was going to move.
Oh, you're right. Oh, you're absolutely right about the numbers game on the Cardinals side. Yeah. That trading all of these people, things get really, really thin. And in one of our shows a few weeks ago was, how they don't have a lot of major league depth or major league ready depth just sitting in Memphis, or major league potential quality depth. It's a lot of guys who are either too young and you don't want to overexpose them, or
still at Blaze though.
Yeah, I'm going to qualify him as a guy who's too young. You don't want to overexpose him because all the power disappeared. Yeah, so I see what you're saying about the Mets. Their expectation would be that Tong's probably going to make the jump, similar to what I'd say like Matthew Liberatore did for the Cardinals last year is kind of what they would hope for. He got rattled around in those starts last year.
Don't you think if you're the Mets,
we got rattled, but still.
And if you're the Tigers, you've got to get 2 of those young guys. If you're trading Tarek Skubal, you've got to get 2, at least 2 of those. Oh,
McLean.
Guys.
I mean, McLean's their top pitching prospect is absolutely 100%. He gone. So, Nolan McLean gone. Carson Bench gone. Jet Williams gone.
So then,
and probably Jonah Tong gone.
So then,
you're probably right there.
What do they have left for Contreras?
Brandon Sproat.
Yep.
That's what they have left for Contreras. And then again, you're not doing the Nootbaar throw in anymore because at that point, they're probably giving all of those prospects away for Tarek Skubal.
Craig Lewis, no one wants Noot until he comes back healthy. I'm not so sure about that. I get the impression that there are teams that are interested in Nootbaar. This was not a very invasive heel surgery that he had. He's already rehabbing, and people love his metrics. We've talked about where he is in terms of his exit velo and his whiff rate and his chase rate. And those are all things that are attractive to other teams. I believe that if the Cardinals wanted to move Lars Nootbaar this offseason and get something reasonable in return, I think they could do it. I think he's a valuable piece of property for them.
Yeah. And to your point, a lot of front offices these days are run by StatCast nerds.
They are,
as you like to call them. And so you can really, you could, and I'll put this in words that I think would more accurately describe it from your perspective. You could probably dupe somebody into believing that he'll be the guy they keep thinking he's going to be.
Well, and he's 28 years old, right? So I think that the Cardinals have reached a point now. I hope they've reached a point with him. Not that they're convinced that he's not going to be good, but is he ever going to be good and healthy? And now that he's entering his prime, 28 to 32, you'd hope that he had a healthy, good, solid season, and he still hasn't had that. So I would think that anybody who would be acquiring him would have those questions. Is he ever going to be good and healthy? And that's the question the Cardinals should be asking.
Let's get over to the chats. You guys are killing it as always. Great one says 7 of the top free agents are still available and we aren't getting one. So what's the big deal? The Cardinals are the get it right business, not the rush it business.
Exactly.
Yeah. The people who are reacting to them not doing a lot is I mean, guys, there was a free agency where no one in baseball signed until February. Mm-hmm. I mean, stuff happens sometimes.
Well, remember when it was Harper and Machado, right? Yeah. They both were right at spring training.
Yeah. The Zach attack. I think it's become part of our impatient society these days. That's got to be it. I mean, fandom, in my opinion, has definitely changed since I was a kid. I don't think, and again, I'll open the door for the obvious usual generational mistake here, which is, yes, of course, things are different than when I was a child. I was viewing them as a child, so I have different eyes on it. But I think, as somebody who was a child in, let's say, 2005 is when I'm referencing this, and then somebody who was an adult in 2005, I think you would also agree with me that fandom has changed in the last 20 years in America.
Yeah, the internet has changed everything.
Yes.
Right? The internet and the app and the immediacy of having Twitter. I'm going to call it Twitter.
Keep doing it.
I think that has made us a less patient society, not just in sports, but overall. And we want things now but there wasn't a trade made at the winter meetings, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, not one single trade. So while the Cardinals are going slow, so is everybody else. It's not like the Cardinals are behind here. Cardinals are actually ahead because they traded Sonny Gray. They're one of the few teams that have made a deal so far. And so they're ahead of the game. Take solace in that.
Yeah, honestly, until the big and another big thing, and this is kind of one of our next big topics, which is also one of the Cardinals markets kind of changed during the winter meetings, and that's like one of the big things that nothing happened, nothing changed, but a lot of the reports coming out of Arizona where the Diamondbacks were looking to build on a Ketel Marte based roster. And then they get to the winter meetings, and by the time that they're at the end of the winter meetings, it's like, oh, we're probably trading Ketel Marte. Yeah. So the Cardinals' most tradable asset just got his market, not reset or anything like that, but maybe pushed back a week or two, or at least by one move. And so to the point from the previous texter and something we were talking about yesterday, if anything, be happy the Cardinals haven't made a move, because that means they're still taking offers, they're playing the field, and potentially something like Ketel Marte getting traded for a haul could completely reset the market in their favor. And now, of course, the flip side is Ketel Marte gets traded for cheap somehow, which I don't see how it happens, but cheaper than we expect, and that resets his market in a negative way. That is also possible, but let's maybe for a moment at least trust that Chaim Bloom and company have enough of a finger on the pulse to know what's happening.
And I read, and I don't know if this is an absolute fact, that there's concern. One of the reasons the Diamondbacks would be willing to move Ketel Marte is because last year during the All-Star break, his home in Arizona was burglarized, and he had actually gone home to Central America or South America, and I think he's Dominican, but anyway, he had gone home and then came back, and his home had been burglarized, and he freaked out, and he left the team for a time, and his teammates were none too impressed. They thought that he should have bucked up and played because they needed him. And remember, the Cardinals got swept by Arizona right after the All-Star break, after they had gone to Colorado and lost 2 out of 3 there. But the Diamondbacks players thought that Marte apparently could have helped them win some key games, but he wasn't there for them. And so that's a concern that the Diamondbacks have, and not that you shouldn't be bothered by that. But I think in a major league clubhouse, that's looked upon as fragile. And they think, your house got burgled. Okay, come and play ball. And when you aren't working at the ballpark between 3 o'clock and 10 p.m., spend the rest of your day worrying about that other stuff. But the Diamondbacks front office, I think, finally talked to their players, talked to their manager, and I think that there is some reparation that needs to happen if Marte is going to get back into the good graces of his teammates and his coaches and manager.
Yeah, that's fair. Let's dive right back into these chats. Cards in 2028. Contreras seems like a perfect fit for the Metropolitans. And I like Jimmy the Cat Hayes earlier today on the Lou Information Station was like, man, I bet you the New York fans would Mets fans would absolutely love Willson Contreras. Yeah. I absolutely agree with that. I think he'd be a perfect fit.
Yeah. I think offensively he'd also be a really good fit for the Yankees, even though the Yankees have a couple of pretty good right-handed hitters, but they could use another one. That's why they had Goldie last year, and I think he would be a fit there. It's really amazing how there's a dearth of quality right-handed hitting, and the teams that are out there with big money, obviously some teams that don't, like the Orioles signing Pete Alonso for $155 million, but the right-handed hitters, and specifically you look at a guy like Mookie Betts with what he's getting, Teoscar coming back to the Doyers last year. Right-handed hitting is at a premium right now, and I would think that there will be a lot of teams at the price, the cash price, interested in a guy like Contreras. And he's got to be willing to go too.
Yeah. You mama, if I was the Mets, I would be interested in Contreras plus Gorman over Contreras plus Newt. The issue there is again, they have Vientos, at third base. They have Beatty. And Beatty. They have obviously Francisco Lindor at shortstop, and then they have Jeff McNeil, who is in the last year of
they just got Simeon.
They just got Simeon. There you go. So there's no really spot for Gorman unless you're moving into left field, which I would love.
Or DH.
I keep forgetting about Simeon. Oh my God. that really does actually change the money thing a little bit.
Yeah, he's making about the same amount on an AAV as Nimmo, but he is under contract for a significant. I think he's owed over $100 million.
Yes,
the next 5 years.
Yes, which is I'd kind of forgotten about that contract ad, and maybe to your point,
and McNeil's going to move to the outfield.
And McNeil's going to move to the outfield, which potentially, that potentially covers the Brandon Nimmo spot.
Yeah, I think he uses center fielder.
Their center field spot wasn't great. Yeah, McNeil. I was going to say McNeil is a solid player. He's paying him like $12 million. He had a 111 OPS plus last year. I'm not sure they're moving him around, not trying to necessarily replace him. John says, the major league team doesn't matter the next couple of years. Trade all the guys we're talking about, throw out some league minimum contracts to get through those games.
I would respectfully disagree with that, and that's because you have essentially a group of players at the major league level that should be playing in the minors or are of a minor league age. And you say, this isn't like the Cardinals have a bunch of 30-year-old guys on their roster. They have a lot of 23, 24, 25-year-old players. Next season, just as an example of the players that we're reasonably sure are going to be here, you have Pages will be 27. Mason Wynn will turn 24 next season. Victor Scott will turn 25. Walker will turn 24. Herrera will turn 26. Burleson will turn 27. Gorman will turn 26. This is not an old team by any stretch of the imagination. And I wouldn't trade all those guys and say, okay, I want to get a bunch of 19-year-old lottery tickets. You actually have guys. Ivan Herrera is a really good major league player. Brendan Donovan is a good major league player. Mason Wynn is a good major league player. I wouldn't be trading those guys for people that might turn out to be good players.
I don't think he was saying trade them.
I think what
he did. I know he was being. He said, "Where did it go?" He said, "Trade all the guys we're talking about away." So we didn't mention those guys on this show today. I hope.
Well, it sounds like he wanted to get rid of all of the players on the major league team. He said that the major leagues don't matter and the minor leagues are what matter. Well, the problem is that you've got guys that you're developing at the major league level.
But again, we've heard it from Chaim Bloom. It's going to be, they're going to prioritize the farm system and winning in the future, but they will not throw away any chance of them winning in the now, and they will make moves to win in the now while always prioritizing the long term.
Well,
and so they're not, because, and again, we're not surprised. Look at the fan base. Look at what was at Busch Stadium this year. They're not just going to bottom out completely, like I was joking about earlier, and be like, yes, 2026 our priority is getting the number 1 overall pick. Never going to happen. Lottery also stops you from being able to guarantee that, but nonetheless, they're not going to bottom out to that point. If he was just saying Arenado, Newt, Willson, and probably Donnie, if we had mentioned him before, I'm sure the texter or the commenter meant ship those 4 out and worry about the offense in 2026. Never.
If Jordan Walker was a 23-year-old prospect that had spent 5 years in the minors, we'd be really excited about him.
I'd be wondering why it took him till 23.
Well, you would have been wondering about Aaron Judge too.
Not till 23. My God,
he didn't make his major league debut until he was 25, right?
Yeah, but he's 6'7", so.
Well, Walker's 6'6".
I know. The problem is, I can't completely become unbiased about what I've seen from Jordan Walker.
That's the thing. If you hadn't seen him every day, you'd be really excited. That's my point.
I think you're right. I do think you're right. I think some people. I was saying the thing kind of tongue in cheek because I think that's how the vocal minority who are always want to be negative about everything would react. But I think, if we hadn't seen him in the last few years and he was just trolling in the minors and he was just, what does hitting 320 in the minors really do for you as a major league player? Not much, probably in the grand scheme of things. And so, I'm with you 100%. And here's why we were talking about Joe Appel yesterday.
Just perspective, okay? In the last 3 years, Gorman has hit 27 and 19 and 14 homers. If he had hit those homers in a different order, if he hit 14 and then 19 and 27, our perception of him would be completely different.
Is it fair, though, Because you're right, 100%. But is it fair, though, to when you look at a young player to wonder, though, if the league figured out something about him?
Yeah, it's fair.
And that's why that order matters to some people, is that, how often have we seen a young player who the Patriots don't have a book? As soon as they get a book, though, he can't adapt. And I think that's maybe why people look at the order of those the way they do. You're not wrong. And there's a lot of times, like we were saying yesterday, when we were comparing Schwarber and Pete Alonso. Some people have kind of forgotten already that Pete Alonso has a 50 home run season. It just wasn't as recent as Kyle Schwarber.
Probably forgot that Schwarber was non-tendered by the Cubs.
That's another very good point. But I just think it's fair. I just wanted to point out that it is fair on the Gorman one to be like, well, did somebody figure something out about him? And I think we still don't know the answer to that one. But something that's interesting is coming up on the STLSportsCentral.com tomorrow afternoon is you and Bernie Miklasz. And we know we already talked about everyone. You need to be a insider to see the entire thing. And one of the things that's in the insider, just to give you guys a little peek behind the curtain, was you and Bernie talking about why you're so comfortable with the Cardinals sticking with Walker and Gorman and those players for this season. And I thought you and Bernie gave it a fantastic answer, a realistic one that I think even the most negative Cardinals fans can jive with, mainly because you guys were talking about the difference between the old group of people running the show and the new people. So I think the negative people can take the salve of a listen, we're past John Mozeliak and understand your guys' point. So that's a fantastic point about the positivity to have this year, because all of these things we're talking about with Walker and Gorman now, as we shift the conversation, the past is true. The present, though, is completely different, because the mindset, the ideology, the plan on all these young players is not what it was previously. It's changed. And hopefully we'll see if the results change along with it.
I think Chaim Bloom, with his comments about Herrera, and if you didn't see him, he basically said, we did not prepare Ivan Herrera well for the major leagues. He easily could have said the exact same thing about Victor Scott II or Jordan Walker or Pedro Pajes or Mason Wynn. He could have said it about all those guys. He was focused, because the question was about Herrera, on Herrera and his catching. But, I mean, we've talked about it before. Isn't it a disservice when you move a guy to the outfield but don't have a dedicated coach for him?
Bad idea.
Yeah. So I think there's things that happened in the Cardinals system in the last 4 or 5 years that they're trying to make up for at the major league level now. And that's why Bloom wants to get a look at people like Walker and Scott, and hopefully Wynn's offense will improve, and some of the other guys. Gorman, I think the Cardinals would love to have another look at Gorman and see, okay, what is that power? And it's interesting because we were just talking about Schwarber. Schwarber hit 38 home runs at the age of 26. And then the next year, he hit 11 homers, and that's when the Cubs non-tendered him. And then after that, he wound up hitting 32, and then 46, 47, 38, and 56. So sometimes you just have to be patient with a hitter and understand that guys are going to have down years. Not everything is going to go their way. Not everything is going to go your way. And if you have conviction about a player's talent and you think that you have the people to elicit the best out of that talent, then you have to keep him around. Yep. And the Cubs, they haven't missed him a whole lot, I don't think. But you sure would have liked to have gotten something for what Schwarber has turned out to be.
I would agree with that one. Let's manage some expectations here. Great one. I think if we have to get an MLB arm for Donovan, Willie commands an MLB arm, not just some prospect. $18 million. He's a really solid hitter, but $18 million for a guy who has never hit over 25 home runs, and saying that for me to get him, 24 is his career high. Saying that for me,
who are you talking about?
Willson Contreras.
Okay.
Saying that for me to give you a guy who's costing you $18 million the next 2 years and has never had more than 24 home runs, it's a solid hitter, but I don't know if the Cardinals are in the place where they can demand or command an MLB arm for that player compared to a guy in Donovan, who everyone wants because he's super versatile, is also a plus hitter, Gold Glove defender, and is cheap.
Well, that's the thing, is Contreras is making 3 times more than Donovan. Contreras is an $18 million a year guy. Donovan is a $6 million a year guy. That plays in baseball. Money plays. Kansas City, even if Willson Contreras played the same position as Brendan Donovan, the Royals wouldn't be in the market. The Pirates wouldn't be in the market for Willson Contreras at $18 million. No. They will be because of the salary that Donovan will command over the next couple of years.
Craig Lewis was ahead of my promo by 10 minutes. I don't want Gorman to go until Bloom gets his training on Nolan. Yeah. I like the idea here. Why would you let go of a guy with that kind of potential without maybe just seeing what a new regime can do with him?
And I think that his best stretch last year was when he played a lot. And when he was playing inconsistently, he struggled. And I think at some point, they need to find out what he can do if he plays every day. They've asked him to get in better shape this offseason. He wasn't, when they moved him to third, he didn't have the sort of range that they expected him to have. Apparently he's bought in and he's getting in better shape, and hopefully he'll show up at spring training and be ready to move around and play a better third base and be more, have more stamina for the regular season.
Let's keep rolling on with these chats because we're getting some new names that I haven't seen in ever or a while here since we changed times. At Patty Wilbers,
hey, Patty.
Cardinals need to keep Gorman. He didn't get consistent playing time with Arenado at third base. He's going to be another Randy Arozarena level powerhouse. Man, these people are ahead of us by like 10 minutes, and they're right in our heads, Randy. I love this. They're killing it.
Hey, there's no question that the power is there. And last year, Gorman had a career low walk or a career high walk rate. Let me go back to this, which is, if you're into that 3 true outcome thing, you like that. So,
but also you have to like a young player who hasn't hit his prime yet, showing that he's adjusting as a hitter. Like again, when we talked about Joe Appel, I don't think Joe Appel is the same
Adele.
hit. Adele, I don't want to say Appel, sorry.
Mark Appel.
Yeah, Mark Appel's the pitcher who failed. Joe Adele. I don't think he made that jump just because he's 27 years old and without actually changing who he is as a hitter, getting better at whether it's pitch recognition or watching film or what have you. You get better by doing the work. And the fact that Nolan Gorman put in the work at least to become a better player at the plate, a more consistent player at the plate, at least his ability to hold back and see the ball, that just shows growth for a guy as he hits his prime, and that should give you some positivity.
Yeah. A career high walk rate, 11.7%. He did still strike out 33% of the time, actually 33.8. And you need to get better contact from him. But when he does make contact, it goes. And so that's what the Cardinals are working on. And remember what was said about him by Bram Brown. He said he had to cut back a little bit. That's why his swing speed was down, because they wanted him to make better contact. And early in the season, that's what was happening. Because when he does make contact, he just has God-given ability to hit the ball hard. But the problem was when he came back from the injury, he got back into that old habit of swinging for the fences all the time. He doesn't need to swing for the fences to hit home runs.
No, he doesn't. We know he has the power, and that's why you see somebody like Cards in 2028. I still love Gorman, but I have no results to back it up. Once his head gets right, he will crush the baseball regularly. To Randy's point, you have an almost 30 home run season. To what I was saying, you have a guy who's shown some improvement at the plate in his approach and his maturity. And so I think there are some results to back up having some positivity about Gorman.
Right. And we know the guy's capable of hitting 27 home runs. Like you said, do we know why he has declined? Is it him or is it opposing pitchers? Why has Nolan Gorman declined, and can he make the adjustments to baseball's adjustments to him?
We have a report from the winter meetings. Take it with a grain of salt. It is coming from Skyboy76.
Sky BOYY?
Sorry, 6767. Okay. My buddy works for a front office, and he told me after the winter meetings that the owners aren't giving in.
Oh, well, that's...
Yeah, but the issue with my report, and again, I'm not going to say that you don't have a friend who works for an MLB front office, but I wonder how much I think your friend's finger missed the pulse, because part of the lockout, and this is why this lockout is going to be interesting, is that this isn't just a owner versus players lockout. And I'm not sure how better way to characterize this lockout.
Is owner versus owners too.
Is it owners versus owners as a smaller thing inside of the larger players versus owners, or is it even a crazier thing, which is the larger thing is owner versus owners, and inside of that is a smaller players versus owners issue here. And there's also a players versus players issue.
You cannot have a salary cap if you don't have meaningful, substantive revenue sharing among all 30 teams. It just doesn't work. Now, there are teams in the NFL that make a lot more cash than others. The Cowboys have their own sponsorship deal. They have opted out of NFL property. So, for example, when somebody buys a Cowboys jersey, Jerry Jones gets all the money. When somebody buys Bears or a Texans or a Niners jersey, that money is all thrown into a pot and split up among the other 31 teams. So the Cowboys make a lot more cash than everybody else. Teams don't share their local TV revenue or their local preseason revenue or coaches' shows revenue, things like that. So there is definitely a disparity in terms of the amount of cash that NFL teams make. But the biggest chunk of money, the national TV money, is split evenly among all the teams. So the percentage-wise, all of that extra money isn't that big of a deal. In baseball, the primary driver of revenue over the years has been local TV revenue, not national TV revenue. That's changing a little bit, but and a lot of teams, the Cardinals have been one of those until the last couple of years, where they made more money from ticket revenue than TV revenue. That's where they made most of their money, and that's a 60-40 split.
What happened? You're saying I can't watch games on Fox Sports Midwest this year?
Well, you can.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they'll be there.
God. Okay, good.
Yeah, but the revenue's down.
Oh, okay.
But here's the thing. The teams like the Yankees with their Yes Network, or the Red Sox with Nesson, or the Mets. The Mets, yes?
And why?
No, the Yankees are yes. And
NY Sports Network.
And yeah.
Whatever.
Anyway, the Yankees, Mets, Dodgers, Cubs make all of that money. They have a tremendous amount of revenue that they don't want to share with teams that are barely making anything.
And so just to kind of drive to that point, Skyboy, you say the owners aren't giving in. Which owners aren't giving in? The rich ones or the poor ones?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm just wondering about your report here, because in the context of the fact that it's going to be owners versus owners, I'm not sure how to take the phrase owners aren't giving in, and except for I'm with you, the lockout be happening, everybody. We got some.
I wouldn't bet on the owners giving in.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, Missouri, your moment's finally here.
Woot!
You know that?
Finally.
DraftKings is rocking and rolling in Missouri, and America's top-rated sportsbook app is live in Missouri. Make every game even more exciting with same-game parlays and money lines and props and more. You know, we know game day. We know how to tailgate. We know how to make noise. We know how to be passionate. And now with DraftKings Sportsbook, we can bring that same energy to every snap and every touchdown and every win. Right now, new Missouri customers bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. There's no waiting, no nonsense, just pure action powered by America's top-rated sportsbook app. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code STL Sports. New Missouri customers bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. That's code STL Sports. The crown is yours in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 and over. Physically present in Missouri. Eligibility and restrictions apply. One single use odds boost per customer. Market boosted to plus 100 odds. Max bet $50. Expires at 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time, December 7th. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, we're gonna have to do the thing yesterday, Wilson, because the chat is just absolutely killing it, and I've lost my ability to see some of them.
Oh man, you can't see the chat.
I can't scroll. I'm right now. I'm locked out pre 3:42, and we were barely at 3:30 on the chats that we were taking. So I'm a little bit blocked out. So I'm gonna try to read some of the older ones. Until then, though, let's pull some of these.
How about let me give you a scud though. We could use a lockout with all of these trades. We're looking at the first 100-loss season since 1908.
No, I don't think they're going to lose 100 games.
So you're thinking that the losses of Sonny Gray and Miles Michaelis and Eric Fetty are going to cause the Cardinals to be worse?
Potentially. I think that might be their argument. Click on that great 1-1. If the Cardinals wouldn't have threw that launch angle BS at Norman and Walker, we'd be in a different world.
Let me go back. Okay, Okay.
I love this.
You are not going to be worse by losing Miles Michaelis.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. It's just not working that way.
It might be. Let's call it +2 wins from getting rid of them. Let's call that +2 wins.
That doesn't turn them into a 62-win team.
No, we'll call it +2. I think it's fair to call it +2 on that one.
Yeah.
At least 1.5.
Yeah, I don't think that they're looking at 100 last season, and that might change. But Nolan Arenado didn't provide anything for you last year. Now, if you get rid of Contreras, you'll have to make up for that offense. You were 21st in Major League Baseball in runs. There are certainly improvements that need to happen. I don't think the Cardinals are taking a major step back. Do they need to rebuild the bullpen? Yes, but I think that's the easiest thing to do. The best way to work the margins and take advantage of inefficiencies is by finding pitchers, relief pitchers that nobody else is giving money to, aka Phil Matone, that can work for you.
Click on that Patty Wilbur's one right there in the middle there, Wilson. Thank you so much, sir. They have got to have good enough teams on the field to get fans' butts back in the seats.
Yes.
That is the situation they're dealing with right now. You do kind of have to you have to win games because people don't want to watch crappy teams. Although I wonder,
well,
people watch crappy teams on the television just fine last year.
They did, and I wonder if the habits of, well, clearly the habits of people going to the game have changed, and I don't know how the Cardinals are going to be able, short of being great, I don't know how they're going to be able to get people back in. Remember the last time the Cardinals were in the NLCS, they didn't sell out those games against Washington. And that was a pretty good team.
Craig Lewis said 338. The next season will and should be Runway 2.0, but with a short leash. Let Bloom and the boys work their magic, and let's see who improves.
I think that that's pretty accurate. Yeah, I think that Heim wants to see some of these young players in a different environment and with him in charge rather than Mo.
Cards in 2028. Now, I'm not saying this is your job, Randy, but he is asking, can somebody please convince me that Walker can be fixed? I want him to succeed, but I just don't see it anymore.
Well, there were certainly stretches last season, most of last season, he was not good. What he needs to do is be consistent. And they've sent him down to, what's the company in Florida that he's, Cressy. He's been working at Cressy, working on, one of the things, he had that weird, the weird kick where he started with his toe on the ground. And one of the things that Mark McGwire told me, and he taught me because he told me, he says, as a hitter, the ground is your friend. And I don't know that Jordan Walker used the ground as his friend. Well, he's changing that. He's trying to get a more consistent swing. He also needs to be more selective, but he's 23 years old. And Matthew had the stat yesterday about Joe Adell, what he was at 23.
Mama points out Brent Rooker wasn't a good hitter until he was 27.
Yeah, there you go. So there's a large group of hitters that really didn't become great until they were 25, 26, 27 years old. And I think the thing that you would hate the most, you haven't seen what you've liked from Jordan Walker. Would you hate it, though, if he got traded to Atlanta and wound up hitting 37 homers and driving in 98 for them in a couple of years?
One of our subscribers, Eris Mo 2138. Walker has the top 5 bat in Major League Baseball, but he has bottom 5 eyeballs / instincts. You can fix the eyeballs, but you can't create the top bat when it's not there.
So, and we'll see what he can learn and if he can become better.
Deli in St. Louis, always so negative about the DeWitts. No reason to put that one.
Let's read it. All right, what do we got?
Scroll up to his little Deli St. Louis's little ditty right there below that one. Hey, hey, ho, ho, the DeWitts have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho.
So Bob Castellini, is that what you're angling for?
to that point, Eris Mo says, who do you want to replace the DeWitts? Some investment group who's even more conservative? St. Louis does not have crazy billionaires. We have one, but I guess he's not a huge baseball fan.
The Pohlad family. Well, we've got we've got a guy that is from Missouri that you can trust.
Stop it.
Okay, I'm just saying that.
Where was he on your hate on punch people in the face list? Okay, there we go.
Number 1. But here's the thing. You can complain all you want about the DeWitts. Number 1, they aren't selling the team. Number 2, I don't think you realize that they really do want to win. They aren't going to spend like the Dodgers do. Nobody is going to spend like the Dodgers or the Phillies do. That's because the Dodgers and the Phillies are in top 5 markets. So markets is the amount of eyeballs that can watch on TV that advertisers pay for. So we're in like the 24th, 25th market and actually declining. We're getting smaller. Not as much money to be made from this franchise from electric revenue, whatever, media. So baseball on radio isn't what it was. Baseball on TV clearly is not generating the sort of revenue. But I think you need to be careful of what you wish for, because what I want you to do is Google search USA top 100 markets and take a look at the markets that are just above or just below St. Louis, and tell me what you think of how those baseball teams are being operated, and then tell me that you want the DeWitts to get rid of this team.
Fair enough. Craig Lewis said this earlier, and I don't really know what he was talking about, but if he wants to get back in the chat, I'd love him for. Sorry to blow your segment. It's not really. It's just what smart baseball people think. I just want to know what this response was to. That's what I want to know. That's why I'm asking him. Scud1962 says, we could use a lockout with all these trades. We're looking at the first low. You already led that one. First 100 loss season. Oh, yeah, all these trades. Again, they're not happening yet, but we'll see where things stand. I don't expect them to be even – I expect them to finish last in the NL Central, but I don't think that's 100 losses. I think they're probably going to lose in the 90s. But yeah, why care about the loss number this season? There's so many other numbers to care about. There's so many numbers around Nolan Gorman and Mason Wynn and Jordan Walker and Matthews and maybe Liam Doyle. There's a lot of numbers. Heck, Tanner Franklin numbers we could be looking at this year that I'm going to care about a lot more than what's in the win and loss column for the Cardinals. But that's just me. I understand other people are different.
Hey, we love the fact that you took the time to spend part of your day with us.
Oh my God,
here on the Randy Karraker Show on STL Sports Central. We love having you chat and be a part of it. And don't forget, you can join the Insiders Club as well. We'd love to have you be part of that as well. Matthew and Randy, and we'll have Bernie tomorrow. We're also going to have John Denton and a lot more. And don't forget to check out all the Blues and Billikens and Tigers post games here at STL Sports Central, presented by DraftKings, where the crown is yours. We'll see you next time.